Paltrocast.
Aside from having to do press today, how's your day going so far?
It's going pretty good. It's starting off at an okay pace. How's your day going?
The real answer or the polite interview answer?
Give me the real answer.
Flew back from a press trip from El Paso yesterday. You ever been to El Paso, Texas?
I've never been to El Paso.
Awesome, beautiful city, but doesn't serve the East Coast super well with direct flights. So when you have a travel day, you got a travel day.
Man.
But you're a Kansas City person, and we have direct flights from New York to Kansas City. We have direct flights to LA. What year did you move out to LA?
I moved out to LA in toward the end of 2018 / the beginning of 2019, in that kind of like weird area.
Had you spent time in LA before moving out there?
Yes, I had. Well, but like only in spurts. I went out there for spring break earlier in 2018. And then I also was there for about like a month and some change filming a pilot with ABC and Warner Brothers for
the middle spinoff.
Exactly. And so that was like the only time. And I also went out there in the 8th grade and I met Brandy. That was crazy.
Wow. Oh, okay. Now I could go in that direction, but I'd rather ask, with the pilot that you worked on, were you put up in the Oakwoods?
No, I wasn't. I was not. I was put up in a hotel that was right by Universal Studios.
Nice. Okay, that's a tiny bit less depressing.
Yeah, no, it was legit, man. It was like so nice, and I remember I liked it because they had water with like chopped up cucumbers.
Oh yeah.
And like it was, and no, they actually would change the fruits and the vegetables every single day. Now that I'm thinking about it, and it was amazing. I was like, I didn't know water could be so enjoyable.
A great hotel. The one I was just staying in El Paso had that. That's how I knew it was a great hotel. But hey, over to you here. It's a fascinating career that you've got, where it kind of took off with Unstable. But before all that was happening, you were a comic. And I know about your history in Kansas City, where you were a one-man wrecking crew, very DIY and all that. When did you get passed at the Improv compared to the Unstable casting?
Well, it's interesting because at the Improv, especially in Kansas City, I actually never really got passed when I was living in Kansas City. And this is actually kind of wild. The week before I was leaving for college, I remember they were about to make me house MC. So it was kind of one of those situations where I had to choose, like, for a split second, I was definitely going to choose to move to Chicago. But they were like, hey, you could either do this or, you're going to go to college. And I was like, yeah, man, I want to go to college. I think that I made ultimately like the right decision, and like even to like now I perform at the Improv in Hollywood pretty regularly, you know what I mean? So I think I made the right decision for myself, and to be able to like go to college and also learn more about comedy while being in the Chicago comedy scene, but also studying comedy in college. And it all worked out in the end. I'm still working the Improvs, and I was just back home doing the Kansas City Improv here recently. So go to school, kids, is the moral of the story, I guess, kind of. I don't know.
About a year before the pandemic, I had the pleasure of going to the KC Improv, which has that really cool connected bar arcade that I've never seen at any comedy club anywhere.
Well, it wasn't always an arcade. That's a new thing. I don't know for how long, but it used to be just it used to be like a concert venue / restaurant. Really? And they've just recently turned it, like last time I was there, I was surprised that it was an arcade. I was like, what is this? This is not what I remember.
Well, the KC comedy scene to me is super intriguing, because probably like 20% of all the movie stars who are comics all grew up in Kansas City or St. Louis at this point in time. But all of them seems like they had to leave Missouri to make it in entertainment. But then they come home for when the Cardinals or the Royals are in the World Series. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're 100% correct about that. It's a really astute observation. In another interview I did recently, they point out that Harrison Ford is from Kansas City, and I had no idea that was the case. I mean, I think, look, at the end of the day, I think we both know this. Kansas City is just an incredibly special place. And I think anyone that lives there or anyone that has been there for a long period of time knows that. The people there are special. The energy there is just something different. I always just felt really lucky to have grown up in Kansas City. And there's always going to be a sleuth of problems no matter what metropolitan area that you grow up in. But Kansas City, for some reason in particular, just always just felt like such an amazing experience just to be able to live and grow up there.
Totally.
Yeah.
A lot of companies based there, the great sports teams, the casinos, the
so much to offer. Loose Park.
Hey, Starlight Amphitheater or Starlight Theater,
rather.
You got it all there.
And it's simple. It's like a small, big town. And it's simple, but it's so nice, man. It's great.
Totally. But hey, back to you here. One of the fresh faces of Netflix and all that, the upcoming rising stars. What are things looking like on the stand-up front? Are you doing weekends or it's just mostly sets in town in LA?
It's a lot of sets in town in LA and around California. Some out of town things, like literally tomorrow night, I'm headlining a comedy club in Bakersfield, Illinois. So I'm sorry, not Illinois. That was a joke I kept making. Bakersfield, California. That is where I'm headlining. And truth be told, this is my first headlining opportunity in some years where it's not even just like, hey, you're doing like, 20 minutes and we're saying you're the headliner. It's like, no, I'm actually like literally doing 45 minutes to an hour, which is, I'm going to be kind of rusty, but I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited for more of these opportunities to come because I know that this is only the beginning. So
when they give you the onstage intro and they go, you may have seen this next person on blank, blank, blank. Do you put all your TV credits in there or do you emphasize the comedy headlining credits?
I like to lie. So I like to if they're like, what do you want to say? I'm like, man, you have to say Olive Garden on there. You got to say Applebee's. You got to say that he loves Dr. Phil. Like all of these random credits, and it's fun. But here recently, I've been giving more TV credits because I realize now like the audience has actually really enjoyed them. Like it literally is like when an audience member hears that, their like ears perk up and they're like, oh my God, like he's here right now. Like that's insane. Versus from like a comics POV, it's like, you don't got to say all that, man. Like just bring me up to whatever. So I'm getting better at saying TV credits instead of trying to troll the crowd.
I've seen it go both ways. I find that usually when people name the acting credits, they were an extra in the show.
Yeah.
Like you may have seen him in, and then they name a few Adam Sandler movies where maybe they were in the amusement park scene or that kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But in your case, are you a comedian that happens to be an actor or an actor that happens to be a comedian? How do you look at it all?
I say that I think that I'm just an actor, stand-up comedian, writer. Or if you really want to make it very complicated, I'm just an artist. Because I don't know if I see any boundaries, if that makes sense. Like I discovered acting first, and that is one of my passions, and it will be for the rest of my life. And then shortly after that, I started doing stand-up at Stanford & Sons Comedy Club in the Legends. And then after that, I mean, I started kind of messing around with like art installations and like, playing around with lights and like writing then came after that. And so what my future looks like is probably going to be like a mix of all of those things. But I just think that I'm an artist.
But you didn't say producer, and when you scroll through the IMDb, you do see the producer credits. We don't have to name what shows.
I'm definitely a producer too. Like I said, an artist.
But then again, the Producers Guild insurance is supposed to be really good. And don't they have to fly you first class when you're a producer in the guild?
I hope so. They need to start flying writers first class and paying them first class. That's what needs to happen.
So that's why you tell people you're the writer, not the producer, because right now you get the better sympathy push.
Listen, man, I'm trying to stay relevant. You know how this industry is. No, I really do think the writers need to be paid fairly, though.
So to recap, of course, yes. So to recap what we've learned, Unstable, that's the latest high profile credit of yours, but
yes, sir.
There is stuff coming up, but we're not allowed to know, correct? There's the typical embargoes, the Hollywood Reporter variety embargoes?
1,020. Yeah, there's so much stuff coming out. I don't know if I should keep on this lie or not. But no, I mean,
Get
like,
proud.
I
Yes, and
right now I am just heavily focused on stand-up, you know, and I'm really focused on trying to like, I would love to have a special on Netflix. That would be absolutely incredible. And so right now I'm at the point right now where I'm just trying to work toward that, and I'm putting all of my energy and focus into that specifically. So
wh-
yeah, that's
when
my
you're doing stand up, and pardon me for cutting you off because I haven't had the pleasure of seeing you live beyond a few clips on Instagram, because
yeah.
hey, you're not in New York yet. We're hoping to get you out to New York. Do you talk about your acting work within your stand up?
Um I I do now
Mhm.
because of the show, but I kind of make like a quick little like witty little thing that I say about it. But I really don't. I mainly try to keep that about like just like my life or my observations and all that other fun stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
I see the generation of actors who became stand-up comedians who weren't comedians in the first place. They have that weird show format where it's like this Q&A that you didn't ask for, where they do an anecdote and they go, so anyone want to know anything? And
You're really funny, man. That is so true.
well, I'm not.
That's
Well,
actually hilarious. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. I've never said that out loud, but it's one one thing I remember saying. I'm so sorry. It's
I
one
have
thing I
that effect
remember
on people. I
seeing.
make them cough. It happened.
Hilarious.
But yeah, I saw Chris Kattan do stand up at a
Yeah.
Vegas casino, and it started off with a good anecdote or two, and then it was, so anyone want to know any requests? And you kind of go, okay, so he's filling 45 to 60 minutes contractually, and that's
Mhm.
brilliant. That's a brilliant way to do it, to just not necessarily have any two shows the same, but you're a structured actor comic. That's the vibe I'm getting.
No, yeah, for sure. I like am a comedy snob 1,020%, and it hasn't always been the case. And I'm trying to humble myself also, but like I really am. Like, I never thought that I'd be the person that would look at a comic set and be like, "Oh, that premise? Like that's what we're going with for the premise? Oh, that's what we're going with for the punch. Okay. Okay. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing." But, you know, everybody's just trying their best, man.
Yeah.
And so I try not to give people too hard of a time. And stand up is just a really great outlet for a lot of people that have huge fan bases that want to be able to get out in the world. So all power to them. I hope it works out, you know. But I really try to be like a traditionalist when it comes to my stand up.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. The last thing related to that I actually want to know about before I ask you to plug all your stuff is, when you start at an early age, it's more the novelty that you're the young person who's doing it when everyone else is doing like a paper route or working at McDonald's or whatever. And so they
Yeah.
give you the benefit of the doubt at the beginning. And then you have that age where you realize, oh, I'm not actually good. And the novelty is not there. When did you
Yeah.
kind of have that moment where you realized, hey, I really have to be good at this? It's not about the age anymore.
It's a really good question.
Every now and then I have one of those, but
Yeah, no. I think that you're 100% right. I think it happened to me when I was probably in college. And I like to think about it about when Usher was transitioning to
from
being
She's All That to the Yeah Usher, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And in a lot of ways, I think that it was a multi-year process because I went through a lot during that time period, and
Sure.
like being the young guy in Kansas City like definitely gave me a leg up. But even with me saying that though, man, if I'm being 1,000% honest, if I can humble brag for a second, it
Okay.
really hasn't been that difficult of a transition. If only the biggest thing was experiences, because I realized like, oh, like most of my experiences have been in a comedy club. So I kind of need to start living life a little bit more if I actually want to write about substantial things. And so that kind of started to shift the way that I go about life for a
Mhm.
few years. And then unbeknownst to me, the world would be shut down for 2 years. And so I got the opportunity, and it was detrimental in a lot of ways. And a lot of people suffered. And Lord knows that was probably one of the hardest times ever. But it also gave me a moment to be able to kind of just sit back and just think. And I probably wrote the most that I had ever written ever in one like bulk period of time. And I did that in Joshua Tree. And then I was like, all right, I'm actually going to do this, and I'm going to do it like really well. And that went into January of 2022. And then I was at the Laugh Factory, and then I was at the Improv, and then I got this director session, and then this director session. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, Unstable. And it all happened so fast, but it was after about 4 years of trying to grow up a little bit after being the kid in stand-up. And so, that's kind of the era that I'm in right now, I would say.
Great answer. And when you talk about writing material that means something, the hospice birthday cake, great.
Well, that was in the middle of when I was that happened while I was in the middle of my like existential crisis. And my grandfather passed away on my birthday. We were in hospice and we sang Happy Birthday. And I was like, this is surreal. Ridiculous.
I appreciate that darkness and finding the laughs in the darkness. But Aaron, really looking forward to what's to come from you in the near future. And congratulations on making the dream come true.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Paltrocast.